All right, everybody, welcome back to another session of Rubbin' Dirt. Today we've got Elk Creek Speedway with us today, or Elk City Speedway. I'm sorry. Deer
No,
Creek
it's all
was
right.
Deer Creek was the people I thought I had before you, but I misread. Um, so now coming out of Elk City, not a lot of people know where your guys' speedway is. So could you first tell us a little bit about your track and where you guys are located?
Yeah, we're on I-40 in western Oklahoma. We're about a dead center between Amarillo and Oklahoma City. So we're about 34 miles inside the border into Oklahoma, but it's kind of dead set in the middle between Amarillo and Oak City. So it's a pretty good location. I mean, it's basically fairly small town, but it's gone through some oil booms and stuff like that. But it's kind of in a recovery process right now. But it's pretty neat little racetrack, a 3/8 mile high banked oval. At this point, it doesn't have walls around it, but it's got a good clay surface on it and pretty high speed, pretty wide. Races pretty round, so it's kind of like a mini Eldora type thing. It's got the same banking down the straightaways as it does in the corners, so makes for some pretty good racing.
All right. Now, how did the track come to be what it is today?
The city built it, and then there was some land donated to the city for a racetrack, and there was a racetrack that had been operational for quite a long time, and then the city wanted to move it to a different location, so industry could kind of build up because it was kind of located right downtown. And so they moved it out by the freeway and built this new facility. And then there has been like a plethora of um, promoters that have been in there over the last, I don't know, 18 years. Some guys have done it a couple of times, but, it's, and trying to run it and stuff. And it's, when the times are good in Elk City, it seems to make some money, but, when times are not good, it's, people seem to struggle.
Well, I definitely know that that goes both ways. Some years are great, some years aren't so good, but we still seem to make it interesting and manageable throughout the years.
Yeah, exactly. And like anything, I mean, we all in business, we're all working real hard trying to, get to the point where we can do some of these things that are passion, projects to us. And, I've been in the racing, since I was 8 years old, grew up around it and done mostly sprint car stuff, but have dabbled in a lot of different stuff. But, got to the point where I was a, mechanic on the Outlaw Tour, for Craig Delansky and stuff like that. So I kind of, got to the pinnacle, of what I was doing. And then, but, we've always, had these other things going on. Like, I've had driving schools and been involved with, the Jimmy Sills Driving School out in California, which we've now purchased, and stuff. But, doing the track and having that small town feel and small town atmosphere racetrack is really cool. And then, our whole deal is, we've, got a pretty big business plan, to try to make it work, and which includes a whole lot more things to do at the facility just besides racing cars, on Saturday nights.
Of course. Now, you did touch that you guys did own the driving school now. So, how did that come to be, and how does that kind of go in with everything as far as what you guys offer to people that come to the school?
Okay, well, I mean, being a mechanic, I mean, you get involved with a lot of teams and stuff like that. A lot of them have young drivers or, or new teams. So you kind of learn how to, run teams and teach people, and that was kind of something that I kind of had a passion for. So, even, young, when I was young, I was kind of a student of the sport and hung around and got help from a lot of great people and, trying to kind of pay some of that back. But, and doing the driving school, when people come to you and when I, ran race cars, I would have people come up and say, hey, I'll pay so much money to be in a second car and, have you teach me, and stuff like that. So we started doing that, and it just kind of ballooned into, a driving school situation where, not only was it just you come drive our cars, but we've got packages where people can bring their own cars, and we teach them how to work on them. We, go through, scenarios, on the racetrack, where, we go through an entire night from a heavy racetrack to a dry slick racetrack and make the changes and teach them how to do it. And then, over the years, you kind of learn, what some of the pitfalls are, with certain teams and stuff like that, where you've got, too many opinions, on a team and you can't get anywhere. And so we try to teach, in the schools and with that, there needs to be a game plan. You got to have a game plan, and everybody's got to pull on the rope, and it's all got to be in the same direction. And then you guys can work to a conclusion. And so we kind of give them the tools to do that and to communicate. And then, on that, when you bring your own car, we give you, we give you a basic setup, that I know that you could take to any racetrack in the country, and with a couple little modifications, you can run, and be decently competitive. It might not be the trick of the week setup, but it's a background, and, and it's a baseline setup. And, Doug Wolfgang, taught me that when I was very young, that you have to have a baseline to go back to. And, his whole deal was he always had a box that, had, a set of torsion bars, a set of shocks in it, everything, for that car. And he could always go back to that box, and put it on the car, and he would know, what that should feel like on a race car, and if it didn't feel that way, then he knew that it wasn't bars or shocks, and then he could start looking, further into, what was going on. But it's tidbits like that, kind of get people, to where they can be successful at this. Because, this is a hard sport, this is a hard sport to get into, and, you're going to, get beat up way more than you're ever going to beat anybody up in this sport. And, you've got to, have a game plan in order to keep your head up. So that's kind of, part of what we try to instill.
Of course. Now, have you gotten the chance to race much at the current Elk City?
We had, excuse me, we were able to get in about half a season. By the time we got the upgrades, we hoped to get more racing in this year. But by the time we got the upgrades, for the safety features of the racetrack and got everything up to snuff to where we could actually, run and get insurance and all that kind of stuff, we weren't able to get started till like July 4th. And then from there, we kind of, were able to get about half a season in, which was really good because, we did a lot of things right. We did a lot of things wrong, and, it was a chance to kind of go in there and get our feet wet and, work on the track prep and, work on, God, it's, when you get into that side of it, there's so many things that can trip you up down to, whether your flagman, shows up or, type of thing. So you have to learn to be in a good position, on it. So it's been a learning experience. So I'm kind of glad we got, a half a season because I'll tell you what we've learned in the half a season, I'm definitely ready to kind of regroup and, get a break and then get ready to hit it next year.
Of course, that would be tremendous to have next year go to be a great success for you guys. I wish you the best of luck in that. But when you look at your supporters for this track, who would you say is probably some of the biggest supporters for your guys' track right now?
The hometown businesses. We have been so well received and well supported by the town of Elk City. It's incredible. The minute that we were able to work, with it, and Nick Archer, who was the mayor, he just, stepped down today because he got elected to Congress. Nick Archer, was kind of the driving force behind it. And he used to race himself, and stuff, and he's a young guy and is going, places in politics, but he kind of was the one who ramrodded this deal. And, originally I went in to purchase the track from the city, and they wanted kind of a business plan put together, and we had some meetings, and they said, well, wanted to feel me out and kind of see where my head was, going with this and what we're going to try to accomplish at the track for the city. And it was Nick Archer that stepped in and said, hey, we don't want you to buy it. We want to be your partner. So the first thing, I say is, well, hey, partnerships, kind of a hard deal because, we need to do some, make some changes and do some financial improvements over the course of the next few years. And the city stepped up and we mapped out a game plan, over the course of the next 5 years to, update the track and turn it into a destination, type facility, so, it's, they've been really good to work with, and they've, stuck to their word, awesome. And, we're really looking forward to the, relationship going forward.
Well, there you guys have it. Don't forget to go thank your local congressman if you're from that area for helping make that track something special.
Yeah.
Now, if there was any class you don't get to run at this moment for your guys' track, what would be a class you eventually want to bring to the track?
Well, we're dabbling in the sprint cars because I come from a sprint car background, but we don't really have the cars around our, we're kind of in a pocket there that doesn't really support sprint cars as far as people having the cars. But, we have, part of our situation is we have rental cars, that people can rent, go through our school, rent a car. We have a lot of practice dates on the schedules, open track dates so people can come and run their cars, because we're committed to try to build it up in that area, and stuff. So, sprint cars, we're working with, some of the other associations and traveling associations around there to kind of, get our foothold. And, the other thing is that, we're trying to work on building up the crowd. I mean, we run a limited modified class, the USRA limited mods. We went with USRA sanctioning, because we needed, we needed, legitimacy. The track had gone through a bunch of different promoters, and kind of the rules were all over the place. And one year to the next, it depended on what promoter was in there as to what he liked for rules and stuff like that. So, we felt it was really important to align with USRA, for their backing and support and their structure, and so that people could invest money into race cars and know that, it was going to be good there for over a long period of time, so that was really important to us. The other thing is I didn't want to be in conflict with the people that are racing in my track, and that, that was really, really important to me. And USRA has a grievance, system, where if somebody feels like they were wronged at the racetrack or a wrong call was made, they call up, USRA and file a grievance, and then USRA will investigate it and stuff. And I thought that was really important because I don't want to be in conflict with the guys that race at the track. So I mean, if we make a mistake, then they have a recourse deal without it turning into a yelling match and a problem at the racetrack that makes all of us look unprofessional and and stuff. So I mean, I felt they had the best situation. So they're working for this year to have us USRA supplied officials and tech people. So we're not in the middle of that. We kind of bounced around a little bit this year, trying to get all that in place, but we should have that all worked out for next year. But, so that's kind of been our game plan.
Now, since you did name a pretty big name that you used to get to work on their cars, it's something to hopefully work on in the future and possibly get in the World of Outlaws to come down there?
Yeah, we're looking at that. Unfortunately, like our we only have like grandstands and stuff for about 1,500 people at this point, so that makes it a little bit of a problem, for the World of the Outlaws. However, we do have some companies in town, that are willing to help, bankroll to get the Outlaws there just so that they're there. So we have some options, and like I said, our 5-year plan with the city, definitely, increases, our, our track footprint, increases our seating, increases, what we can offer, and parking and all that, and camping and all that stuff is going to increase over the course of the next few years. So, the World of the Outlaws is definitely something, that is in the horizon, because as a kid, I mean, when you dream about having a track, I mean, that's what you want. You want the World of the Outlaws to come there. The World of the Outlaw late models would have a fantastic race on that track. So, I mean, and that's what you strive for. But, right now we're working with ASCS to get, 360 sprint cars there next year, and OCRS, which is the traveling, 305 version, 305 Race Saver version, the traveling club. We're in the process of scheduling races with both of those for next year, and then we're looking at trying to do some Power I stuff. So we're just trying to kind of move our way up, but, it's, like I said, it's definitely on the horizon. I mean, that's where our game plan is to go, and that's, where Elk City wants to, see the racetrack go. They want it to be a destination track, I mean, the infrastructure is there. I mean, we have tons of hotel rooms. We have tons, of eating establishments. We have tons of that stuff in town because of, the oil booms and the oil field, services and stuff. So we have the structure there in town in order to, to make that World of the Outlaw dream come true. And, like I said, everybody's, kind of working in the same direction. It just, going to take us a little time. That's all.
That's certainly a big understatement, as it does take time to grow these things and make deals happen. That's something I would like to see a lot more of, is the World of Outlaws getting to come more to the Midwest tracks and run, just because it does bring in that crowd, and it does kind of help everybody out, even if it's for just a couple years on and off, back and forth.
Correct.
It really provides that boom for those tracks and really keeps everybody going, and gives some of those teams other opportunities to see some younger drivers coming out there that might go, hey, I want to keep an eye on that kid for later down the road.
Right. Well, I mean, the funny part is the area that we're in, I mean, has a plethora of talent. I mean, the Oklahoma City, Tulsa, area and stuff. I mean, you got Christopher Bell, that's now, a Cup star. I mean, you got Wayne Johnson, multi-time, ASCS champion and World of the Outlaws racer. He's right in Oklahoma City. I mean, you've got, obviously, one of the Wonder Kids coming up, Ryan Timms. They're out of Oklahoma City right there. I mean, we have a plethora of talent that is coming out of this area, and, we just, don't have the tracks, they're more hometown tracks. We just don't have the huge facilities, to be able to bring the higher series in. And we're headed in that direction. I mean, there's several tracks around that are trying to make the steps, and, Lawton Speedway, which is over by Oklahoma City. I mean, they tried to schedule a World of the Outlaw race and then had to postpone it because of, weather. And then they finally ended up, not being able to get a scheduled date put together. But, in the future, we'd like to, be able to be part of that a 2-day show process, so, and with some of these other tracks, coming back online that have been down for the last year or two, there's some pretty nice facilities that are, going to be opening up around here that, if everybody works together and, that we could start getting more, more of those races in this area.
Of course. Now, I think the most possibly loaded question that I have for everybody out there is, what does racing mean the most to you guys?
Oh, that's a loaded question. The thing is that, it means a whole. That's a hard one to answer. Hey, that's a good question. The thing is, I think what means the most is, the relationships you build with people, and being able to be a part of somebody's career, being one step on the rung of them, trying to achieve their goals, and whether we do that with, the driving school, or we do that with practice dates where they can come and get more time on the racetrack, and we can give them pointers here and there. Whether, it's because we provide a racetrack for them to be able to come race, so they can, move their, talent forward. Whether it's, we can hook them up with some people that can help their careers. I mean, all of this, it's all about relationships. And I think the thing is the passion part of it is to try to be a positive force, in the racing community that tries to, move it forward for other people. I'm where I want to be. I have a nice track, and I have great partners with Joe McConnell, and Ray. They, do a great job, supporting me and being a huge part of it. There's no way I could do it without them. So the three of us are trying to move this thing forward, and then we all have our ancillary stuff around it. But, and it's all the passion thing. It's all the passion for the sport and trying to, do something positive. I think, that's probably the best answer I could really come up with.
Is there anybody else out there that you would like to just say thank you to again, or that you may have left out earlier?
A million people. I mean, I've got, the community wrap themselves around, this racetrack, and I mean, we've got, all the way down to people that take tickets to, the people that take care of the racetrack and the groundskeeping, Lance Wilson, and Peggy, they're out there every week mowing and weed eating, and the town, Troy Jones Equipment, it supplies us with whatever equipment we need in order to try to move our facility forward. I mean, we have so many people, it would take me half hour to go down the list. But the community, has been without this racetrack for over 3 years, and, it sat dormant, and we resurrected it, and, myself and Joe and Ray, have made a big commitment to it, and the town has just, come out in force, and we can't thank them enough. We wouldn't have been able to do it without them. So it's, like I said, there's too many to name, but, I personally try to thank everybody and make sure that everybody knows how much I appreciate them, and, what they've been able to do for us.
Of course. Now, on behalf of us over here at Rubbing Dirt and our partnership program with W Energy, we thank you for your time, and, thank you for resurrecting the track and keeping it alive and moving on with the history and really keeping the sport alive in your area.
Hey, I appreciate that. So I hope, I hope that we can have more discussions and more, time on your podcast to kind of go through it, and, maybe do something every month or two, and, kind of do updates and, keep you up on what's going on. So I would, I'd like to continue our relationship.
That is definitely the hope for me. Again, thank you for your time.
Not a problem.
Quick reminder, if you want to hear any more about Elk City Motor Speedway, please go check them out over at elkcitymotorspeedway.com, and it'll keep you up to date on everything to do with their dirt track school and what big things they got coming. Again, thank you again to Elk City Motor Speedway for their time and consideration for this podcast, and have a great day, everybody.